Welcome to today's Explainer. You've probably seen the headlines lately about the Strait of Hormuz blockade, crazy rising inflation, and just this growing everyday anxiety over global supply chains. It honestly often feels like our personal economy is totally at the mercy of some distant geopolitical conflict. But what if the root cause of these economic shocks wasn't just about blocked shipping lanes or, the price of a barrel of oil? Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're unpacking a source that offers a highly unconventional, real paradigm shift regarding these global events. It directly connects the dots between supply chain logistics, human spiritual duty, and, buckle up for this one, seriously, quantum energy. So here is our roadmap for today's Explainer. We're going to start with 1, the real cause of economic crisis. Then 2, Middle East conflict and resource cartels. 3, future changes of neighboring powers. 4, Korea's role in 2040. And finally 5, cosmic energy and our task. Let's get right to it.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the real cause of economic crisis.
Our source today completely flips the script on the root cause of our current economic and supply chain anxieties. Now, the common view we always hear right on the news every night is that economic hardship, like inflation, the cost of groceries going up, is directly caused by foreign supply chain disruptions. Basically, a shipping lane gets blocked and boom, prices go up. But the speaker's view takes a vastly different approach. According to this source, this hardship actually occurs because citizens are neglecting their global spiritual duties. The argument here is that the pain of inflation and economic instability isn't really just about geopolitics. Actually, it's presented as a symptom. It's a massive systemic wake-up call happening specifically because people have abandoned their intended roles in the global community. To really understand that duty, we need to unpack a foundational term used heavily in the lecture, Hangik Ingun. In this specific context, it refers to the concept of Koreans acting as leaders and educators for humanity, fundamentally meant to foster global talent. The speaker asserts that instead of fulfilling this vital role, people are just isolating themselves. They're breaking off into self-serving factions, getting stuck in ideological camps like free democracy versus communism, and forming domestic political cartels. By focusing only on internal survival and picking sides, rather than seeking to actually understand and help the broader global community, the speaker believes we are creating massive global imbalances. So the supply chain crisis? It's essentially framed as a natural consequence of this very localized, selfish mindset. Moving right along to Section 2, Middle East conflict and resource cartels. Let's examine the speaker's deeply unique, incredibly spiritual interpretation of Middle Eastern resources and the ongoing conflicts there, and this brilliantly illustrates the core divergence between intent and reality, according to the source material. The speaker posits that the massive oil reserves in the Middle East actually had a specific divine purpose. That purpose was to attract global attention and literally bring humanity together to foster cooperative research and shared development. Sounds great, right? But instead, the actual outcome has been the formation of highly exclusive wealth cartels and devastating religious or faith wars. The lecture claims that oil was essentially given to us as a tool for global unity and study. But instead of using that resource to advance global knowledge, factions have used it to build localized wealth and fund continuous, deeply entrenched conflicts. And this, of course, creates a perpetual cycle of global conflict and sacrifice, which trickles all the way down to impact everything, even the cost of our daily goods. So the obvious question is, how do we actually break this cycle? Well, the speaker's proposed solution places the responsibility squarely on a group referred to as the Chanson, or descendants of heaven, which in this context specifically refers to the people of Korea. First things first, they must step up. This literally means stopping the endless complaints about fluctuating oil prices or blocked shipping routes. Second, they have to actively study and analyze the historical and cultural roots of these conflicting nations, whether we're talking about Saudi Arabia, Iran, or Israel. Third, by truly understanding them, the Chanson must help elevate these nations above their constant fighting. And finally, the ultimate goal is to guide them to become dedicated to human peace rather than sectarian warfare. It's a huge call for deep, empathetic global education over mere economic calculation. All right, Section 3, Future Changes of Neighboring Powers. Building on this whole idea of shifting global responsibility, the speaker makes some pretty bold predictions regarding major superpowers. We see a very direct, striking assertion here. Russia must partner with Korea or it will cease to exist. No mincing words there. The speaker claims that Russia is currently facing an existential crisis and will inevitably have to reach out to Korea for help. However, The source is absolutely clear on how this should be handled. It states that Korea must selflessly help a struggling Russia reform its foundational structures post-communism. The absolutely critical warning here is against greed. If Korea tries to exploit Russia's vulnerability purely for a quick economic profit, the speaker warns it will lead to mutual destruction. Let's move to Ma and see how this builds, particularly when the speaker turns their attention to China. The lecture outlines a highly specific heavenly mandate prophecy regarding extreme fragmentation. It begins with Step 1, the dissolution of the Chinese Communist Party due to historical mismanagement. From there, Step 2 predicts the nation will initially fragment into 5 distinct regions. And it's interesting, the speaker symbolically ties that number 5 to the 5 stars on the Chinese flag. But it doesn't stop there. Step 3 suggests that if these new regions fall victim to further greed and fail to fulfill their designated roles, the fragmentation will just multiply, fracturing the country into 10 and eventually 20 separate minority regions. Which brings us to Section 4, Korea's role in 2040. Now, you might be wondering, if these massive neighboring superpowers undergo such dramatic collapse and fragmentation, what exactly happens to Korea in the middle of all this turbulence? Well, the speaker points to a very specific target year, 2040. According to the source material, this is the year a new Daehan Empire, a great Korean empire, will arise. But the lecture emphasizes a super crucial distinction here. This empire is not formed through military conquest or aggressive expansion. No way. Instead, it forms organically because Korea becomes a desperately needed sanctuary for the populations of all those seeking nations. As neighboring nations fragment, those populations are going to actively seek Korea's help and guidance. Korea's duty, then, is to warmly embrace and unconditionally assist these populations. And because this assistance will be so absolutely vital, the speaker predicts a profound cultural shift. The Korean flag will actually be voluntarily adopted globally as a symbol of protection and hope. Furthermore, the flag's yin-yang design won't just be seen as a simple national emblem anymore. It will be revered for its deep cosmic philosophy, essentially representing universal balance and peace during a time of unprecedented global restructuring. Finally, Section 5, Cosmic Energy and Our Task. Okay, we've discussed some massive macro geopolitical prophecies, right? But the lecture brilliantly brings all of this right back down to the micro level, to the absolute importance of your individual daily actions. To understand how we fit into this, we have to look at the concept of human souls as quantum energy. This is described as an invisible, divine energy within humans that literally operates the universe. So the crucial point is that human consciousness is directly connected to the fundamental physics of the universe. According to the speaker, this means our everyday words, our thoughts, and our emotional states aren't just personal. They directly impact cosmic stability. It's like a giant puzzle. When we are unstable or angry, the universe literally reflects that instability back at us through global crises. Knowing that our energy shapes reality, the speaker provides highly specific, actionable advice on how we should conduct ourselves every single day. First, we literally need to stop worrying fruitlessly about supply chains or resource prices and instead start learning about the world. And here is a fascinating, totally unexpected modern twist for a spiritual lecture. The source explicitly advises using AI tools to accelerate our global education. The goal is to study the history and culture of one new country every single day. If you do this, you understand 30 countries in a month and 100 in 100 days. Finally, and most importantly, we must maintain a joyful frequency. The speaker stresses that a joyful Korea brings joy and stability to the rest of humanity, effectively stabilizing our collective quantum energy. This brings us to a quote that I think perfectly encapsulates the entire lecture. When one person finds stability, humanity finds stability. This just beautifully highlights the speaker's core philosophy. Your individual learning, your pursuit of global understanding, and your choice to remain joyful rather than anxious. They are not selfish acts. In this framework, they are a divine duty. By maintaining your own internal quantum balance through education and joy, you are literally helping to anchor the global geopolitical order. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder. We started today by looking at supply chain disruptions and international conflicts. But if this source is right, and our daily joy and words literally act as quantum energy that shapes the fate of nations, what kind of universe are you broadcasting into existence today? It's a really profound way to look at how your personal mindset might just hold the absolute key to global stability. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay joyful, and I'll see you next time.